That's right, for the first character in this series I may or may not do in the future, Phoenix Wright joins the battlefield in Smash. There's a lot to be said about Phoenix's chance in Smash. We specifically haven't gotten a single Capcom character repped at all for both DLC Pass 1 and 2. Not to mention the recently revealed Mii costume for Dante, and the ever so subtle hints of the Monster Hunter devs' opinions on monster hunters themselves being in the spotlight compared to the monsters. It's looking more and more likely that Phoenix Wright of the Ace Attorney series might be the next possible DLC fighter. Whether you believe that or not is up to you, but for the sake of this video, I'll be talking about the potential content we might see for Ace Attorney if he is the last DLC fighter. So let's dive right—
OBJECTION!
Huh? No, I don't think I— Oh, that's right. Yeah, Edgeworth is going to be the Echo fighter for Phoenix. I have this ongoing theory in my head that the last potential DLC fighter might come with an Echo fighter to sort of spice things up about the final character. It's not necessarily a guarantee, but I figured, hey, why not? It'll make the video more fun anyways.
OBJECTION!
True, Apollo does have the potential to be an Echo fighter as well, but certain factors of Phoenix as a whole has made me realize that it might not work out so much. Besides, I actually see Apollo as more of a potential clone character situation, like Isabelle or Luigi for that matter. So there you have it, my reasoning for why I chose Edgeworth over Apollo for the Echo Fighter potential. Alright, here is Phoenix and Edgeworth's moveset, starting off with—
Take that!
I figured for his walking animation, we could take directly from his walking animation in Marvel vs. Capcom and have him hold papers as he walks forward. It's a simple yet effective look for him to give him that courtroom vibe. Obviously Edgeworth will hold the papers differently, but nothing about their hitboxes will change whatsoever. For his idle animation, I figured it could have him scratch his chin in deep thought before returning to his neutral stance. Edgeworth would cross his arms and close his eyes as he's in deep thought. For their stage intros, it could have Phoenix walking up to a desk and saying, "Your Honor, the defense is ready." And obviously for Edgeworth the same, except the prosecution is ready, Your Honor. They will both not be able to wall jump, but will be able to crawl on the ground, obviously looking for clues.
Take that!
So here's where we get to the actual meat of the video. How will Phoenix and Edgeworth attack opponents and make it look natural to their character? And you're right, for the most part. I don't really plan on Phoenix and Edgeworth really attacking with their fists or legs, or at least not on purpose. They aren't really fighters after all, but they do have their strongest assets available to them. Their words. Literally. What I mean is, in their games, their attacks are evidence finding and theories. Their words are what can make or break a case, so why not literally have their words be the way they fight? For example, their jab attacks. When Phoenix and Edgeworth use their regular jab attacks, they pull out papers and speak, causing shockwaves to show up in front of them. While small, they come out fast enough to be useful in locking them into their rapid jab, which is just a continuous barrage of shockwaves. The final hit has them point as a large speech bubble hits them and knocks the opponent away. I also figured this could be used with Phoenix's iconic animation of him flipping the paper as he explains his reasoning in court. For his dash attack, it'll have a banana peel spawn under him and then Phoenix actually trips and falls on his butt. More of a comedic attack, but it can still be useful as a good launching move. Obviously, Edgeworth would have to do the same animations, as for the most part, Echo fighters have to share most of the same moves and animations, but there will be some key difference to Edgeworth, rest assured. Side tilt is simple really. Phoenix and Edgeworth throw a stack of papers in front of them, extending a short distance from where they use the attack. This move is in Marvel vs. Capcom, and I figured, why not add it in here as well? The papers act as projectiles, but they gradually lose speed over time, so it's not really worth it to reflect them unless really up close. Up tilt has them both throw papers upwards, sending the opponents flying with them. This isn't a projectile like the previous move, but it's mainly used as a way to get opponents in the air for potential combo games. Down tilt utilizes the bottle of luminol that's been prevalent in the games as of recent times. I figured to make this move more interesting, we could give it a win box that pushes opponents away if they are a bit further away from them. You might be able to push them before they grab the ledge too, but it's a bit unreliable as it doesn't go that far. If they get close enough, the spray actually does damage to them too. For their ledge attack, Phoenix pushes himself up a bit too forcefully, causing him to slide onto the stage. A fitting attack for his clumsiness. And now, to get to the most important part of Phoenix's moveset.
Take that!
Here's where the gimmick to their character comes to play. A game like Ace Attorney would be unique to be represented in Smash as a fighter, due to the fact that Ace Attorney is considered a visual novel. Visual novels are basically just stories with minor gameplay elements. In this case, Ace Attorney is a courtroom drama / detective solving story of sorts. That doesn't mean it doesn't have any gameplay elements whatsoever. There are consequences to your actions in the game, obviously. Paying attention to the story is super important to this series, otherwise you wouldn't know what evidence to use when the time comes to use it. So how do I encompass Phoenix as a character with this aspect of detective work? Well, let's start with his down special. When you press down B, Phoenix gets on the ground and looks around for about a second or two. This isn't necessarily an attacking move, but rather part of Phoenix's gimmick. It's necessary to do this, as successfully searching will reward Phoenix with a piece of evidence, which we will go over later as to why you want to collect the evidence in the first place. You can hold up to 3 pieces of evidence, as displayed on his character icon during a match. That area will be called his court record. There's 10 pieces of evidence that Phoenix can find, and they are the dagger, the Thinker statue, Amifei's urn, a photo, a poison necklace, a coffee cup, a party popper, a cell phone, grape juice, and a magatama. Alternatively, Edgeworth finds different evidence, and that list is a knife, the King of Prosecutors trophy, a stuffed animal, the autopsy report, perfume, a teacup, a pistol, Yatagarasu-ki, a whip, and a magatama. I figured for Edgeworth's case, I could reference some of the evidence you would find in the Edgeworth investigation games back on the DS in 2009 and 2011, as well as just have evidence that fits his character overall. Next, let's move on to but there's more to it than just throwing the evidence away. We'll get into his gimmick a bit more after the special attack moves are over, but for now, when you press side B, a pop-up is revealed with the evidence you've collected so far. You can move up and down to select the evidence by pressing B again, causes Phoenix to throw that evidence in front of him. Depending on the evidence chosen, it'll have a different effect each time. These effects are as follows. For the dagger, when thrown, it does about 3% damage. The Thinker statue does about 6% damage when thrown. The Amifei urn falls to the ground in an arc and does 4% of damage. The photo does about 1% of damage, but it flies really far. The poison necklace doesn't go far, but if it hits, causes continuous damage to the opponent. The coffee cup, when thrown, does burn damage and does 8% of damage. The party popper does 10% of damage, but only within close range of Phoenix. It has high launch power and acts as a physical move. The cell phone does 5% damage and can be thrown upwards. The grape juice heals 3% to Phoenix. And the magatama causes the opponent to be stunned for 2 seconds. All of these effects can be utilized to your advantage, with the magatama being very useful, much like Pac-Man's bell. Of course, with the randomness of his down special, you'll have to utilize all of the evidence to your best potential. but there's more to this evidence than you might think, so it might not always be the best choice to throw it away. Alternatively, Edgeworth has most of the evidence be used in the same effect as Phoenix, except a couple of key differences. The knife is the same as the dagger. When thrown, it does about 3% of damage. The King of Prosecutors trophy is the same as the Thinker statue. It does about 6% damage when thrown. The stuffed animal falls to the ground in an arc and does 4% of damage if it hits, same as the Ami Fey urn. The autopsy report does 1% of damage but flies really far. The perfume doesn't go far, but if it hits, causes continuous damage to the opponent, much like the poison necklace. The teacup, when thrown, does burn damage and does 8% of damage, much like the coffee cup. Here's where things get different. A little. The pistol does 10% of damage, flies far and fast, but there is no launch power with it. It's kind of like the party popper, but they both do the same amount of damage. The Yatagarasu does 5% damage and is thrown in an upwards angle. And the whip, instead of healing, Edgeworth uses the whip for its intended purpose. This is counted as a physical move and does 10% of damage. Basically, Edgeworth uses the whip. And of course the Magatama causes the opponent to be stunned for 2 seconds. Alright, I'll admit, the up special is difficult to come up with. Shut it up! Not to worry, it's not that I haven't come up with something for it. There's actually quite a bit of ideas, but when it comes to this move, I feel that Sakurai would probably come up with something completely unique to Smash for this idea. I ain't exactly the most creative type when it comes to stuff like this, but I have looked and I found a few ideas. Let's go over some of the potential options, shall we? This one is pretty obvious. In fact, a lot of the other moveset ideas I've seen for Phoenix involve this one. This recovery is obviously a reference to the ongoing joke in the series known as ladder versus step ladder, where two of the characters have a lengthy argument about whether something is a ladder or a step ladder. It's been around since the first game, so it makes sense to have this be in here somewhere. Part of me thinks there's really not much you could do with a step ladder really, but hey, I've come up with my own ideas for it. Depending on how you angle it, you open the step ladder further. When open, Phoenix automatically climbs up it and does a third jump from it, giving him extra height. He can use his aerial attacks as well after the jump, so you aren't helpless after it. If you angle it upwards, he climbs it up like a regular ladder, and if you angle it sideways, he walks over the ladder in that direction. However, you can only angle it in the way you are facing. You cannot angle the ladder behind Phoenix or diagonally behind him either. Only up, diagonally forward, or forward. This one's a bit awkward, but hey, I did my best with it, really. Alright, I know what you're thinking. I can assure you that there is an instance where one has been used. It might not technically be owned by him, but I feel this might lend him some sort of better recovery option. In the DLC episode of Spirit of Justice, you meet this character named Soren Sprocket. To make a long story short, this is the guy that owns the jetpack in question. I know it's technically not really Phoenix's jetpack, but hey, if they can give Zero Suit Samus rocket boots for no reason, and have Wario literally just spin upwards, why not give Phoenix the jetpack? I think it'd be hilarious as well. Plus, Edgeworth can use it too, since he was the prosecutor for that trial as well. It makes perfect sense to me, okay? Anyways, when you press up B with this, the jetpack is automatically attached to his back. You can angle it in all 8 directions, and to make it more unique compared to Diddy Kong's up special, it has an active hitbox only at the end of the animation. It doesn't explode or do anything else really, but it's a recovery move nonetheless. Okay, not literally, but I figured this could be among those ideas that could be considered unique to Smash, and here's what I came up with. Basically, using the power of spirit channeling, which Phoenix can't do, but whatever, the spirits lift him upwards in the air. I feel that this could be something along those lines for a recovery move, but I'm not entirely sure on how it could work. It's the most creative one I've come up with, that's for sure. Sakurai is known to come up with unique recovery moves for characters if needed. Like for Joker when he summons Arsene. That move isn't exactly a thing he can do in Persona 5. No duh this would be his neutral special. We gotta have Kirby being able to say the famous objection line in his cute baby voice. Anyways, this move ties in a little more to the gimmick presented, but I will only go over how the move basically works. Funnily enough, I was inspired by the Phoenix over Captain Falcon mod that's been prevalent in Smash since Smash 4. When you press the button normally, Phoenix will let out OBJECTION! If you hold the button longer though, the bubble will get bigger and more powerful, but it cannot be stored like DK's Giant Punch. Don't worry, it'll be played a bit later to the gimmick, which I'll explain right now.
Take that!
Hold it!
I never said he had to physically grab someone with his two hands. I've come up with an alternative idea that might just work out, and it'll make him the most unique character in terms of his throwing moves. When you press the grab button, Phoenix points at the ground in front of him. In doing so, the witness stand rises from the ground quickly and ensnares opponents in it. If it misses, it simply just disappears. When an opponent is caught, Phoenix has the option to press an opponent with the grab button again. Basically, his pummel attack is him pressing the witness with a resounding
Hold it!
In doing so, not only does the opponent take some damage, but a thought bubble flies from the opponent's head with a silhouette of evidence that can be collected. You can only have one thought bubble at a time when an opponent is grabbed, otherwise pressing will just do damage again. If the opponent hasn't been freed yet from the grab, Phoenix can use a throw to get them off the witness stand, and here is where the gimmick will come into play with this. When Phoenix uses his down throw, he yells,
Take that!
And presents all the evidence he has in his court record. If you have a piece of evidence that looks similar to the one shown in the silhouette of his pummel attack, 3 Cyclocks show up, and break depending on how much correct evidence you have on the opponent. So for example, you pummel the opponent, and the silhouette of the dagger evidence shows up. If you have that evidence in your court record, and you use your down throw, you present the dagger evidence to the opponent and break one of the 3 Cyclocks. If you manage to break a Cyclock, the opponent will become in a panic state, indicated by sweat marks appearing above their model. This panic state lasts for a short time depending on how many Cyclocks you break at a time. The opponent will take more damage to moves. The opponent will also have a minor decrease in how much damage they do as well. On top of that, Phoenix's neutral special will also do way more damage, about as much damage as a reverse Falcon Punch, if charged at the max in this panic state. If you manage to break all 3 Cyclocks at the same time, the opponent will enter a shield broken state, similar to Mewtwo's down special. This move would be considered a high risk, high reward situation if you can manage to pull it off. I'd say it's difficult to do in the beginning, but once you get the hang of finding the right evidence, a truly masterful Phoenix player will be able to pull it off. Correct! Breaking 1 Cyclock won't give you too much of an advantage, but breaking 2 makes it last longer in general, opening up for the potential to score more damage for your combo game. Obviously breaking 3 of them is the ultimate goal, but some players might find ways to be able to break at least 1 or 2 Cyclocks and come out victorious. If you don't have any correct piece of evidence and decide to present, Phoenix will instead take damage and be sent flying back, indicating that the evidence has blown up in his face. Like I said earlier, this is a high risk, high reward gimmick, so you have to make sure you're at least presenting one piece of correct evidence. Also keep in mind that when you use down throw, you lose all of the pieces of evidence. Opponents will also change their evidence requirements with each stock they lose, or each time the evidence is presented with down throw. If you manage to down throw with no pieces of evidence, nothing happens and the opponent gets let go. One more thing to mention, the Magatama will never show up during the pressing, but the Magatama itself always counts as a right piece of evidence. If you get the Magatama, it might be best to keep hold of it if you can. As for the other throws in his arsenal, they all pretty much act like normal throws for the most part. For For the back throw, Missile the dog shows up and rams into the opponent, causing them to fly backwards behind Phoenix. For his forward throw, he lets out a resounding objection at the opponent, causing them to fly away from him. This can also be used on an opponent in a panic state for more damage, but will not do as much damage as his neutral B objection. This is just another option for players if they manage to grab the opponent in this panic state. Up throw has the witness stand fly further up than normal and explode on the opponent, causing them to fly upwards. Don't ask me why, but I just figured this would be a fun and unique way for the witness stand to disappear. Let's move on to some more basic attacks Phoenix can pull off.
Take that!
There will be some strangeness, but I assure you we'll make some nice references to their characters. For his neutral air, I figured we could have Phoenix ruffle his hair in frustration and cause him to yell. This yell has a hitbox that surrounds his body in a circular motion. A simple, straightforward move to use. Phoenix's forward air has him swing a briefcase in front of him. The briefcase is just there to give him that sort of courtroom vibe. The back air does the same thing, except it's a bit slower and Phoenix swings it a little too forcefully on accident. His up air will have Phoenix extend his arms, causing a bunch of playing cards to scatter around on the top. For Edgeworth's case, chess pieces will scatter instead of playing cards. For his down air, Phoenix Wright sneezes downwards. Doing so will actually give Phoenix some height, similar to K. Rool's up air. This particular move is also a meteor smash attack, so he's got at least a couple of options for edge guarding. Edgeworth does the same thing. I know he isn't really known for the sneezing, but I think it'd be funny regardless.
Take that!
For his smash attacks, I kept it simple and easy, something you want as a powerful move that Phoenix is known for. Forward smash has Phoenix pulled from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and utilizes turnabout mode, where his objections turn into giant blue hands. I figured this would work for a forward smash that you can even angle up and down for different lengths as well. It stretches pretty far, but it's a bit predictable to read. For his down smash, Phoenix has his desk appear in front of him as he slams his hands on it, causing a shockwave around him. This is a move similar to Charizard's down smash, except the first hit of the desk rising up pulls opponents inwards, causing the hit of the slam to push them outwards. This attack obviously hits in both directions. Edgeworth does this pose slightly differently, but it does the same effect regardless. For his up smash, the desk rises quickly below Phoenix and Edgeworth, causing a hitbox to appear around their body. Both Phoenix and Edgeworth can pull off different poses when this happens.
Take that!
So now we've come to the final smash portion of the video. I bet you're probably thinking to yourself, actually no, I was gonna say I have 3 different final smash ideas. For his first final smash, I call this triple objection. This final smash has Phoenix yell
Take that!
with the speech bubble appearing much larger than normal. If an opponent, up to 3 at a max, are caught in it, they'll be sent to the courtroom. There, Phoenix, Apollo, and Athena await the opponent on the witness stand. They start accusing the opponent of their crimes, causing all 3 of them to yell objection at the same time. This of course is a cinematic final smash and deals more damage depending on how much evidence you hold. The more evidence you hold, the more damage the final smash ends up doing. The second idea I had for a final smash is one that's not a cinematic final smash. When Phoenix uses his final smash, a fire extinguisher falls on his head, knocking him out. This in turn calls upon his ultimate nightmare, a giant judge on a dark and stormy background. At this point, you control the judge and can move left and right behind the stage. Once enough time passes, or you press the B button, the judge swings his gavel at the stage. Anyone caught underneath it will take a lot of damage, and anyone that's grounded will fly upwards. This is incredible launching power, so it's best to stay in the air if you can. The third idea I had would be a neat one that both Phoenix and Edgeworth could share. This one is called Courtroom Showdown. When used, Phoenix summons a giant witness stand in front of him, causing the opponents to fly upwards to the courtroom area. It shows Phoenix on one side and Edgeworth on the other. The two begin to duke it out in the courtroom with multiple objections, hold-its, and take-thats. Afterwards, it shows Phoenix pull off a super objection that knocks the opponent out of the witness stand. Obviously for Edgeworth, this would be the same but in the opposite position for him. He doesn't pull off the super objection like Phoenix does, but it still makes it look cinematic enough. I also came up with a final smash solely for Edgeworth to use. I highly doubt they would utilize this, but you never know. For this final smash, Edgeworth yells "Eureka" as the speech bubble appears in front of him. This sends the opponent to what looks like a digital chessboard area, in which case, Edgeworth sends a flurry of giant chess pieces at the opponent, setting off his queen to finish the job. This of course also takes into account the evidence you have as well, meaning it acts just as the same as Phoenix's triple objection final smash.
Take that!
For his first taunt, Phoenix shows his badge off that's pinned to his jacket. While doing so, Maya shows up next to him and acts embarrassed. The second taunt has Maya sneak up behind Phoenix, who then proceeds to get startled. The third taunt has Phoenix think and then say, "I got it," as Maya cheers for him. For Edgeworth's taunts, his first one could be his iconic animation of him pressing his finger to his temple as he smugly chuckles. His second taunt could have him thinking and then proclaim, "Eureka," with the speech bubble appearing above his head. And for his final taunt, he bows his head with that smug smile he's known for. Imagine this taunt being used after he sneezes to spike you into the pit.
Take that!
For Phoenix's first victory screen, he sheepishly rubs his head while Maya throws confetti around him. For his second victory screen, Phoenix is behind his desk and smugly smiles as he says, "No further objections, Your Honor." For the third one, the camera zooms in as Phoenix points at the screen with a smug smile. Edgeworth's first victory screen has him shrug and say, "Checkmate." For Edgeworth's second victory screen, it's a similar concept to Maya's confetti, but instead Gumshoe shows up to throw confetti. And for his final victory screen, Edgeworth gets embarrassed as the camera zooms in and then faces backwards from it.
Take that!
But of course, it is the most iconic place in the entire series. Almost everyone is in agreement that the courtroom will be the stage of choice if he makes it in. However, I've come up with my own little twists on the stage itself. There's a reason why it's called Courtroom Number 4. This is obviously an important part of Ace Attorney Dual Destiny's story. After a while, something happens to cause the courtroom to become in ruins. I won't go into too much detail, but basically the stage transforms into the ruins of Courtroom Number 4. During the actual courtroom part of the stage, you'll see characters from the Ace Attorney series in the background. These consist of some of the most important characters in the series. Sure. I got them right here. Don't worry, Your Honor. It's split up into 3 sections. Defense bench, which is on the left side, the prosecutor's bench, which is on the right side, and the witness area, which is in the middle. Excuse me? Of course not, Your Honor. See? You're in the background, right there. Yeah, it does look weird considering the courtroom's actual appearance, but I figured for the sake of Smash, it'll look like this. Besides, the courtroom will probably also be a lot bigger as to fit everyone on the screen at once. It just wouldn't be right to have one section of the courtroom missing. I'll get to that soon enough, but I figured I'll explain a couple more things about the stage. First, when hazards are turned off, it doesn't change to the ruins of Courtroom Number 4. And second, depending on what music is played, will guarantee a character to show up in the background. Here's a list of characters that show up along with the music that guarantees them showing up. For the defense side, we have Apollo Justice showing up when playing A New Trial is in Session, Athena Sykes shows up when playing Athena Sykes Courtroom Revolutionaire, Mia Fey showing up when playing Objection 2003. Sure, why not? You're a defense lawyer, and a pretty important character in the series. Next up, we have Ryunosuke Naruhodo, showing up when playing Ryunosuke Naruhodo Objection. Who cares? Terry's in his young form and has his son from the future shows up. You should be glad to be able to support your descendant. Next, for the prosecutor side, we have Manfred Von Karma, showing up when playing Pursuit Corner 2001. And we can't forget about his daughter, Franziska Von Karma, showing up when playing Pursuit Corner 2002. Next up, we have Godo, showing up when playing Pursuit Caught. On to the next character is Gavin Clavier, showing up when playing Pursuit Corner 2007. Next is Simon Blackquill, who shows up when playing Pursuit Keep Pressing On. Nayuta Sadmati shows up when playing Pursuit Cornering Together. And finally, Barak Van Zeeks, showing up when playing Pursuit The Great Turnabout. I guess for pain's sake, he will only show up randomly with any music that's not on the prosecutor side. As for the witness stand, it won't be much, but it'll at least showcase some of the popular characters that aren't lawyers or prosecutors. None of these characters show up with music choices, so it's completely random. Starting with Larry Butts. Detective Gumshoe also shows up in the background as a witness. Moving on, Pearl Fay is next, specifically her look in Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations, as I feel that look is the most iconic. Next up is Kay Faraday from the Ace Attorney Investigations game. She's a pretty important character to that game, so it wouldn't feel right to not include her in this list. Up next, Emma Skye, specifically her older design that debuts in Apollo Justice. And finally, Trucy Wright, the spunky magician who debuted in Apollo Justice. And that's about it for all the characters that show up. They'll do a special animation for when someone dies, including the judge swinging his gavel to declare the verdict. Other than that, they don't do much. Still cool though. Moving on to our next topic of choice is... Wright.
Take that!
For the most part, I wanted to choose just like 10 songs to make it feel realistic. However, I felt like I couldn't even whittle it down to even that. I obviously needed the songs for the stage character idea I came up with, so I figured I'll just make this list and say it'll be arranged between all of these. I certainly hope so, but honestly, just seeing Ace Attorney music in general would be nice to have in the game. I'm certainly passionate about this series, and I hope Capcom will continue to support this series in the future.
Take that!
Here we come to the alternate colors that Phoenix and Edgeworth hold. In order to be realistic, I decided to go with 2 costumes for both Phoenix and Edgeworth to use. For Phoenix's case, we have his modern look starting from Dual Destinies onwards, and his classic look from the first 3 games. Both I feel are different and iconic enough to warrant being in the game. As for Edgeworth, I didn't exactly know what to do since his modern look is pretty much just him with glasses. There's a couple of subtle differences, but not enough for me to warrant being in the game. So instead, I chose his younger look that was used in Trials and Tribulations. Let's start off with Phoenix's color alts. Obviously, his P1 alt is his Dual Destinies look, followed by his classic look for his P2 alt. For his P3 alt, it switches back to the Dual Destinies attire, only this time he sports a bright red suit and blue tie. This is based on Apollo Justice, Phoenix's apprentice. He's also seen as another main character of sorts, even starring in his own game on the DS. Next up, his P4 alt returns to his classic look and gives him a color scheme based on Larry Butts, his childhood friend. Larry is sort of an important supporting character of both Phoenix and Edgeworth, so it only made sense to put him in the classic attire. The P5 alt is based on Athena Sykes, a character that debuts in Dual Destinies. It seems they have some plans for Athena to be another main star in the series. At least that's the vibe I'm getting with her, so it only makes sense to make her an alt here. Up next, P6 breaks away from referencing a character and gives him a bright pink outfit and red tie. This is based on his younger appearance in Trials and Tribulations, where he wears a bright pink sweater. This costume is a favorite amongst Phoenix fans, so I figured, why not? Pink is a nice color for him too. Moving on to his P7 alt, it gives him a gray jacket with a cyan tie and black pants. This is a reference to another favorite outfit of his, the Pianist Phoenix, or Hobo Phoenix as many have taken to calling it. It's a nice outfit with the laid-back attitude he gets during the events of Apollo Justice. And since I did his other outfit, why not do this one? And finally, the P8 alt is based on Mia Fey, or Ryunosuke Naruhodo. They have a similar enough color scheme to fit them both, so it's up to the player to imagine it for themselves. And that's it for all of Phoenix's alts. I would love to have the Pianist Phoenix outfit, but I figured I wanted to be a bit more realistic with this, and I knew both suits were the perfect choices really. Now let's move on to Edgeworth's alternate colors. For his P1 alt, it's his regular suit that he's famously known for. His P2 alt is based on his younger self. It's also been seen in Ace Attorney Investigations, so I figured it's at least got some relevancy to the series. His P3 alt is based on Gavin Clavier. It even changes the skin tone a bit to match Gavin's skin tone. Usually characters' hair and skin colors don't change, but it has happened once with Terry, so I took the liberty of doing it anyways. Next, we've got his P4 alt, which is based on Manfred Von Karma. He's sort of an important character to the Edgeworth backstory, so it's only fitting we have him as an alt, especially to the younger alt. Next up, we have his P5 alt, which is based on Simon Blackquill. I really like the idea of the hair having the white streak in it. I'd probably be playing this alt the most based on how cool it looks. For P6, we have an alt based on Franziska, specifically from the key artwork from Trials and Tribulations. This gives it enough of a difference from the other alts. I personally like the dark green outfit on white, it really matches well together. P7 is based on Nayuta Sadmati from Spirit of Justice. You can also pair this with P8 Phoenix and finally complete everyone's favorite OTP with a wedding for them. And finally, the P8 alt is based on Godo. I kinda messed up on it a little, so I ended up making a second version of it. I decided to keep them both though, so I'll show you them both and you can pick which one you like more. So by now you're probably thinking, what else is there to go over for the character? We have the moveset, costumes, and even music. Well, I assure you that this video will go over the entire possibility of what a challenger pack for this character would look like. In fact, starting off with...
Take that!
Obviously, we'll have 4 fighter spirits in the game. Phoenix Wright Classic Suit, Miles Edgeworth Young. After those, I've come up with 12 spirits overall for the DLC spirit board. The most we've seen is 13 on the spirit board with Sephiroth's DLC board, so I figured this is plenty enough for the series' long history to be represented. I'll go in the order of Novice to Advanced to Ace to Legend. Starting off with Pearl Fade, you fight a pink Isabelle that loves a taunt. Yuri Kozukata also shows up as a Helper Assist trophy for the spirit. You fight on Suzaku Castle, representing Kurain Village, where Pearl lives. Trucy Wright is next, this time fighting a blue Palutena. The Smokeball item is the only item that shows up, and you fight on Living Room. I figured it would be neat if the reason we're fighting on that stage is because you used your magic tricks to turn us small somehow. It doesn't make the most sense, but it's a cute stage fitting for Trucy. Up next, we have Dick Gumshoe, where you fight a green Donkey Kong on Wrecking Crew with a Duck Hunt assist representing Missile, and a female villager ult to represent Maggie Bird. Gumshoe was a bit difficult to come up with, so I just had other characters show up that fit with Gumshoe's character. And now our final novice spirit, the Judge. It takes place on the Courtroom number 4 stage, and you fight a black King Dedede with a golden hammer equipped. On top of that, Nightmare spawns in. This is an entire reference to the Nightmare Judge that shows up in Justice for All. I figured this would be a fun reference to a character that seemingly appears in almost every Ace Attorney game. There is official key artwork of him as well. Moving on to the Advanced Class Spirit, we have Franziska Von Karma, a black Zerosuit Samus on Dracula's castle, Omega, that loves to grab, and Deku Nuts are the common item for the battle. I'd like to imagine the Deku Nuts are utilized as a way of her turning your logic back in your face during a trial. Next is Gavin Clavier, who is represented by a default Ken on a foggy Smashville stage. The Squid Sisters also show up. Maya Fey is next, a purple daisy with items drawn to them, and food items being the main item. It's a stamina match as well, so she's constantly healing herself. The stage is Town and City. Up next we have the Ace Class Spirits. First off, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, being represented by a black phoenix that is equipped with a killing edge. You fight them on Foresight, and they also have a second character who is the black and purple Roy, being represented by Kazuma, his friend. Our second Ace Class Spirit is that of Athena Sykes, represented by a yellow Rosalina along with 2 Robs, red and green. These represent 2 robots that Athena grew up with called Ponko and Klonko. And Aluma represents Widget. Also, you fight her on Lilac Cruise. Our final Ace Class Spirit is Apollo Justice, being represented by a red Corrin along with a blue Palutena. You must fight the blue Palutena first before being able to fight the red Corrin. Onto the Legendary Class Spirits, of which there is only 2. Something I've noticed when it comes to DLC Spirit boards is that most of the time they have a villain character show up as a Legend Class Support Spirit, so I tend to do that for one of them. However, I have a second one because I feel this character represents such an important part to the Ace Attorney games, it only makes sense to make them a Legend class. First off, we have Manfred Von Karma. Considering the big bad of the first game, I think this would make the most sense to put them in the game as the Legend class Spirit villain. He is represented by Ganondorf on Courtroom with Edgeworth and a black Zerosuit Samus. It's a stamina match, and you cannot fight Ganondorf until you beat the other 2 characters. And finally, Mia Fey as the Legend Class Spirit. She's represented by a Zelda alongside a green Captain Falcon on the Gerudo Valley stage. This one is a reference to the Bridge to Turnabout. Zelda is also prone to sudden Final Smash, and also Time Stopper shows up on the stage, with 2 showing up in front of Zelda and Captain Falcon. Captain Falcon is represented by Godo, by the way. And that's it for the spirits. If you think I'm done, ooh boy, we got a whole nother section to talk about. But first...
Take that!
This'll be quick and easy. I'll go over potential DLC Mii costumes to represent the series. I picked a character to represent each Mii class in the game, that being the Brawler, Sword Fighter, and Gunner class. I just came up with one for each, That doesn't mean they have to use these specific characters as the Mii costumes, but is more so my own ideas. Shut up. Anyways, first off we have Apollo as the Brawler. If you download this Mii costume, his Spirit Fight also is represented by this Mii costume. Next up we have the Sword Fighter, the Steel Samurai. I figured this could be a fun costume with a mask. I don't think they would do this since the masks are usually considered the deluxe Mii costumes, but I figured the Steel Samurai is a fun enough design to warrant a Mii costume. I came up with another idea for a Sword Fighter Mii costume. One could represent the school uniform that Ryunosuke is known to wear in the great Ace Attorney games. I feel they would give this game a small amount of love to be a Mii costume for sure. And finally we have Miss Oldbag to represent the Gunner. This one's definitely kind of out there, but I probably just as much suspect them to not pull off a Mii Gunner costume for the series, if it gets any costumes at all. Finally, we will be going over the last part of this video, the Classic Mode route. Obviously I had to double my work for this one because I had to come up with one for both Phoenix and Edgeworth. But before we get into that, let's go over something really quick, the boxing ring title. For Phoenix I've come up with a couple. Ace Attorney is one I can see being used. It's kind of a boring one, but a fitting one nonetheless. However, the second one I like a little bit more. The Turnabout Terror is a nickname he is often given sometimes, and it just fits for a stage title. Next up, Edgeworth's title. Obviously Ace Prosecutor is another title that could work, but it's just kind of boring really. There's another name he was known for that I think is much better, the Conviction Machine. It's another one that's fitting enough for a stage title. Alright, on to the actual meat of this section. Classic mode routes are interesting to say the least. They tell a small story that represents that character, using the game's stages and characters as set pieces to represent them. For Phoenix's classic mode route, I'm calling it Turnabout Smash, which is one that everyone calls. But like, come on, it's such a perfect name. My idea for this route is an interesting one though. Each round takes place on the courtroom stage, and Phoenix will be allied with one character. You face off against two other characters, one being the antagonist of that character, and a character being represented by a prosecutor. So for example, the first round has Phoenix team up with Mario, and you battle a Bowser, and a green and yellow Wario. The Wario represents Winston Payne, specifically the colors chosen represent both his old and modern design. Wario is also a fitting enough character for Payne. The second round has you teamed up with Kirby, and you fight against a King Dedede and a Black Zero-Suit Samus, being represented by Manfred Von Karma. The third round has you team up with Fox and you fight against a wolf and a green Captain Falcon, who represents Godo. The fourth round has you team up with DK and you fight against a K-Rool and a default color Ken, who is represented by Gavin Clavier. The fifth round has you teamed up with Samus and you fight Ridley and a Black Ike, along with a Black Falco, representing Simon Blackwell and his pet bird Taka. And the sixth round has you team up with Link and you fight a Ganondorf alongside a yellow Mewtwo who represents Nayuta Sadmati. And the final battle is Master Hand and Crazy Hand. However, I figured for a twist you could have Edgeworth be your partner against the Hands. Seems like a fun idea to end it all off on. Moving on to Edgeworth's classic mode route, here's where things will get majorly spoilery. If you want to skip this part, I suggest doing so now, as I will be going over potential spoilers to Ace Attorney Investigations 1 and 2. Edgeworth's classic mode route is called Finding the Truth, and it's a sort of retelling of some of the major plot points for both games, really. This is your last warning to skip ahead if you haven't played these games yet. The first round takes place on Pilot Wings, and you battle against a blue Palutena. This is a reference to Turnabout Airlines, and the character you fight is a reference to the true culprit of that incident, Cammy Meal. The second round takes place on Newport City, and you fight against a wolf and 3 Mii fighters with bear costumes on. You also have a red and black Daisy as your partner. Daisy represents Kay Faraday, and the 3 bears represent the mascots of the Gatewater Land and the kidnapped Turnabout. Wolf represents Chi-Long Lang. The third round takes place on Castle Siege, and you fight against a Bowser and a Sheik. Bowser represents Kirkis Alba, and Sheik represents Callisto Yu, and the stage represents Turnabout Ablaze. The fourth round takes place on Find Me, and you fight a Black Peach with an orange and blue shirted Lucas. The stage represents the detention center, and the fighters represent Justine Courtney and Sebastian DeBest, or as they are called in the English fan translation. The fifth round takes place on Tomodachi Life, and has you fighting against an Incineroar, and you are also accompanied by a Luigi. The Incineroar represents Dane Gustavia, and Luigi represents Raymond Shields, or as they are called in the English fan translation. The sixth round takes place on New Donk City, this time being bombarded by an Olimar, Duck Hunt, and a Diddy Kong. Olimar is represented by Simon Keys, the mastermind behind the whole game, and the other characters represent the animals he can control. The final fight has you fight against the Master and Crazy Ant, only this time on Courtroom Omega mode. Figured why not end it on that. And that's it. An entire Challenger Pack's worth of content for Ace Attorney in one video for you to watch. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you—
Hold it!
Alright, one more thing.
Take that!
So, I had this interesting idea for a piece of evidence that Phoenix and Edgeworth can pick up. It only happens in 1v1s, and it would pertain to the other fighter in question. I scrapped this idea only because, well, it was difficult to come up with some character's evidence. Regardless, I wanted to put this in because the ideas we came up with were hilarious. For Mario, we have a missing poster of a baby penguin. Obviously, Mario 64 is notable for being able to throw the baby penguin off the map. This clearly shows Mario's guilt. For Donkey Kong, we have Pauline's hat. Obviously for kidnapping Pauline, though technically this isn't the same DK, but hey, guess what? He still kidnapped Pauline regardless. For Link, we decided to go with the snow boots. In order for him to get these, he has to scam someone into giving them to him. You could also say the Gerudo Veil itself is another form of a scam of his. Super Metroid speedrunners will finally get their comeuppance for this one. I have here a photo of missing animals. Not too proud of saving those frames now, huh? For Dark Samus, they have killed various amounts of Federation troops, some of which have come back to life as zombies. Dark Samus is also the embodiment of Phazon, so terrorism. Alright, I had to make the quick and dirty joke. For Yoshi, it's overdue tax papers. It was such an easy joke, I had to make it. If you won't accept it, I have child endangerment lawsuit around the corner with how he treats Baby Mario. Next up, we have Kirby. This one was a bit difficult to come up with, but we have the strawberry shortcake from Squeak Squad. A simple item, and yet the assumption Kirby sprang to lead to DDD having the ever-loving shit beaten out of him instead of the true caper. Fox is next, and this time we have testimony from Tricky. Not only did he endanger this child by putting them in very dangerous situations, he can also abuse the local residents with that staff of his. Pikachu has an empty ketchup bottle. In the anime, Pikachu was known for liking ketchup, so it only makes sense. It's hard to specifically come up with stuff for Pokemon as well, but I had a lot of inspiration from the anime for most. Luigi has the cookies for Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Those weren't his cookies, and he just took them for himself. A petty crime, but a crime nonetheless. Ness has a hamburger he got from the trash can. Utterly disgusting, and also an invasion of privacy. Captain Falcon, I got nothing. I haven't exactly played GX through its entirety yet, so instead I just came up with unemployment papers as a funny joke. Jigglypuff has the marker from the anime. I mean, come on, it's obvious. For Peach, we have a bazooka. Yes, a bazooka. She shot down a plane that Mario was riding in with Daisy. Yes, I'm serious, it's right there. Holy shit. Daisy has complaints from everyone. If you have lost as her teammate in Mario Strikers, you have incurred her wrath. If your shop hasn't done well in Fortune Street, she has talked down to you. Bowser specifically was launched into orbit by her. We even have a complaint from the ESRB for some not child-friendly behavior in her victory poses in the Strikers series. Scandalous. For Bowser, you know what this item is. The crime he's committed with this is unforgivable. Ice Climbers is a bit of a meta joke, but they have the seals as their evidence. The joke being they promoted animal abuse with the whole seal clubbing thing. For Zelda, we have Link's hospital bill. This isn't really for Link to the past Zelda specifically, but have you seen what she does to poor Link in Skyward Sword? She's a menace. On top of that, Sheik is also a persona of Zelda, so any crime Zelda does, Sheik does too. Dr. Mario isn't a real doctor, so we have a fake doctorate for him. Simple, effective, and hilarious. For Picchu, we have a reference to the shenanigans that the Picchu brothers got into for the short anime story. I figured it could be testimony or something along those lines, but regardless, they are little pranksters after all. For Falco, we have his reflector. Apparently he's not supposed to be kicking that thing around, so definitely not following work guidelines. For Marth, we have a tunic. The very same tunic that he wore for his Famicom design. Ugly as sin. Lucina has the Emerald print dress. Not really a crime, but fashion sense-wise, this should be illegal. Young Link has a broken pot, because very obvious joke for a Link to do. Ganondorf literally murdered the guard in Hyrule Castle on the way to the Temple of Time, so yeah, we have this guard's helmet to prove that. Mewtwo, we have those clone Pokeballs he used in the first movie. Actual terrorism involved. For Roy, I got nothing. Not even my friend who's a huge Fire Emblem nerd could come up with something for him. The most she came up with was a broken Sword of Seals, because you can apparently break the super important weapon that Roy can wield in that game. Karam broke a wall in the castle once, so yeah, destruction of property. Mr. Game & Watch has the oil spill for pollution. Meta Knight has the combo cannon that shot Dynablade down in Superstar. Animal abuse. Pit tried to convince people that eating ice cream off the floor was an okay thing to do. Picchu literally stole Pit's identity right in front of him. Identity theft is not a joke. Millions of families suffer every year. For Zero Suit Samus, we have Adam's helmet, for scamming me into thinking there was actual purpose to playing the aftergame of Other M. Wario literally never pays his employees. On top of stealing intellectual property from Nintendo for his microgames, this man's done quite a bit of crimes. Snake has cigarettes as his evidence. This is an E10 plus game, buddy. No smoking allowed. Ike has Shinon in his army, a well-known racist against the Lagoos, so yeah, there you have it. For Pokemon Trainer, we have the dubious disc. Pirating illegal software is a crime, you know. Diddy Kong squished a dragonfly in DK64, and that pissed off the mothers, so child murder. Lucas is a sweet boy that's done no wrong. Except, we have this testimony from Negative Man that says otherwise. How could you abuse someone like that, Lucas? For Sonic, the obvious joke is a picture of Elise, for the crime of making Sonic 06 happen. King Dedede has literally stolen food from the people before. Olimar has a casualties list, for the war crimes he's committed just so he could get his treasures. For Lucario, we have stealing. He's a steel type, so he's weak to his own fighting type. That's all I got, Your Honor. Rob has the subspace bombs from Brawl. That's arson if I've ever seen one. Toon Link has the injured pigs from Wind Waker, or the cuckoos from Phantom Hourglass. Animal abuse is no joke. Wolf is an accessory to murder by accepting a pay stub from Andross. Villager has a pitfall seed, because harassment is apparently funny to him. For Mega Man, I came up with a green helmet. Some people might think this is a reference to Quint, but I assure you, it's much worse than that.
Mega high!
For Wii Fit Trainer, she's apparently been cheating on her diet, and we have this half-eaten hamburger to prove it. Rosalina and Luma have the black hole generator that they use at the end of the game to destroy the entire world of Mario in Galaxy 1. Little Mac has Doc Lewis's chocolate bar that he punched out of his hand in the Doc Lewis fight. You never keep a man from his chocolate. Greninja has the substitute doll for dirty tactics and fighting. Palutena tried to convince Pit that the monster pheromones would only attract Hydra, but instead, well, let's just say it was a scam. Pac-Man pops some balloons a vendor was selling. To be honest, anything he does in that game could be a crime because he was an asshole in that one. Robin tried to get people into a pyramid scheme with his relationship chart. Shulk put an insect in Ron's drawer as a way to get revenge on him for a prank he did. Bowser Jr. has a wanted poster in Mario Sunshine, especially for disturbing the peace and pollution. Duck Hunt has a pile of dead ducks as poaching illegally on off-seasons. Both Ryu and Ken share the same evidence, a destroyed car for destruction of property. Cloud, well, he did steal Tifa's undergarments when she wasn't looking. That's an invasion of privacy right there. Corrin legit murdered someone to take their shoes. Bayonetta has a bill from the gates of hell. It's overdue, Miss Bayonetta. You can't run away from it. Inkling literally kidnapped salmonid eggs from their homes. Ridley killed Samus's parents. A photo of their grave would probably do nicely as evidence. For Simon, we have the sword he uses in Haunted Castle. A terrible game from what I've heard. For Richter, we have Shaft's orb. Forced terrorism is still terrorism. King K. Rool has the banana horde as his evidence for theft. Isabelle has vacation juice as her evidence. She knows what she's actually drinking. Incineroar has a folding chair, an obvious reference to his wrestling theme, and how he cheats in wrestling as a heel wrestler. Piranha Plant has the cage from Petey Piranha that he used to kidnap Peach and Zelda. Joker has two. The calling cards are obvious, and the multiple chocolates he received on Valentine's Day. Vigilantism is still a crime, and cheating is still morally wrong. Hero can steal from people's cupboards in Dragon Quest XI, so theft. Banjo and Kazooie have testimony from Gobi. You didn't think you could get away from abusing him, could you? Terry has Geese's Hakama. He did kind of murder him, at least I'm led to believe he did. Violet deported a man for various war crimes that he committed. Min Min has a copyright lawsuit from Nintendo for stealing their name for the use of their noodle house, Nintendo. A bit of a stretch, but it works for now. Steve has the TNT block for griefing other players in Minecraft. Sephiroth has a Genova head, to reference his plot for world destruction. Alright, he also killed Aerith, so... Pyra has turtles as her evidence. Handling a man's turtle is not a crime I can easily forgive. Mithra has the cooking pot that she uses for cooking, because anything she cooks is a crime. And lastly, Kazuya has a memorial of Heihachi for murdering his own father. Edgeworth has Gumshoe's paycheck, because the poor man doesn't make enough money thanks to him. Phoenix has the jelly donut, I mean rice ball, I mean hamburger, as his evidence.
Take that!
Okay, now that's it. There's nothing left to talk about in the video. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Ace Attorney is a game that I absolutely enjoy, and I hope to see more games in the future with it. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this.
Objection! Objection!
Objection! Objection!
Objection! Objection!